Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A big welcome to everyone. My name is Laura and I'm delighted that you are joining us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today I'm joined by Martha, who will talk to you guys about what governance features exist in Microsoft Fabric, how you can take advantage of them and why. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC_community and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC24. So don't forget to tweet us, at us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Unleash Microsoft 365 Adoption in 90 Days with Dux Raymond Sy. This webinar takes place on Wednesday, March 6th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. CET. For more details on this webinar, please check out sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. You can now view the European Power Platform Conference 2024 programme. Get ready for an immersive experience, hot topics and trends, world-class speakers, interactive panels, engaging tutorials, networking extravaganza, and much, much more. You can view the fantastic lineup of tutorials, sessions, and networking by visiting sharepointeurope.com/conference schedule 2024 EPPC, and you can find the link there at the bottom of the screen. Here at ESPC, we want to spread the love this Valentine's, and that is why we're offering you this limited one-time offer, a deal we know you'll fall in love with. So why not infuse a little love into your workday by securing 30% off your ESPC 24 ticket. 2024 is the year to rekindle the flames of your Microsoft 365 passions and inspiration. Discover innovative solutions and time-saving techniques, meet with peers and share and receive ideas, hear the latest news from Microsoft Corporate, and of course, gain genius insight from our knowledgeable speakers. And again, you can visit the link there at the bottom of the screen to snatch up this offer while it's still available. So during the webinar, we will have some time for questions and answers. So if you do have a question, please type it into the questions window or into the chat, and Martha will kindly answer the question when she gets a chance. And of course, as always, this webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter, Martha. Hello, Martha. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello. Hi. Oh, do you see me and everything?
Yeah, we can see you.
Amazing. Okay, I'm super excited to be here and talk about all the things data governance inside of Microsoft Fabric. So that's what we're going to do today. But before we are ready, I need to make sure that I'm sharing things the right way. So let me try and do this again. And let me know when you see my slide. Do you see it? Yes, audience view. It looks good, I think.
Yeah, everything looks great.
Perfect. Okay, that means that we can start. I'm really happy to be here. And if you have any questions, as mentioned, put them into the chat. I'm going to do my best to remember to do some pauses so we can answer them. But anyways, we're going to do some answering at the end. So, okay, let me get my ducks in a row here. Cool. Okay, so before we dig into the interesting things, which obviously is the things that I'm going to show you, I need to do the boring thing. I just have to introduce myself quickly, so I'll do that. My name is Martha Moengen, or Marte Moengen if you're Norwegian. I'm a managing data analyst at Sopra Steria, and I am this chronic volunteer person thing in the data community. So I am organizing Data Saturday Oslo and user groups in Norway, and also Fabric February that we just had in Oslo. And I have a Women in Technology group and so on. And I'm also having Diagnosing Data, which is a YouTube channel where you can ask questions, or you can send them to me in the chat or whatever, or on LinkedIn, and then we answer them with a bit more detail on YouTube. So that's also a tip if you have any burning questions that you want us to be giving some more time, just not answering them quickly here. I'm doing all things data engineering and analytics, and also architecture. And when I'm not doing data things, I am, of course, I'm a Norwegian, so I do outdoor things. So I am climbing and collecting the highest peaks in Norway, and yeah, and skiing and doing, you know, the Norwegian things. So that's pretty much me, I guess. Okay, feel free to contact me or connect with me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, so we can continue to have great discussions and learn from each other. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to talk about today, we're going to talk about how you can make sure that everyone do the right things inside of Fabric. And that's a pretty big task and pretty difficult. So I'm going to talk about the governance features that are specific in Fabric. And that doesn't mean that we're doing all the governance things. If you're into the DAMA framework, for instance, you might know this wheel of capabilities that you need to look into, and there's so many things. Obviously, all of those things are super important also in Fabric. Today, I want to focus on the specific Fabric features that you have that will help you with these governance and having control over your data, understanding what is happening and who is doing what, and how you can get the higher level of control, and then also have that trust inside of Fabric. So we're going to go through domains, roles and access management, policies and processes, data lineage, and also the Purview hub. And then if we have time, I have a little extra thing that we can go through that might also help you with your governance journey inside of Fabric. All right, so let's just start. Let's start with the domains. So when Fabric launched, I think a lot of people were excited about the domain feature inside of Fabric, because in this data mesh world, everyone is really excited about, oh, cool, now I can set up my domains, and then just linking this directly towards specific features and things that you can do inside of Fabric. So what are domains? Well, domains is the first sort of thing that Microsoft did to try and answer the need for your data mesh architecture inside of Fabric. So this is supported if you're working with distributed architecture and you want to have these domains that could be business related, for instance. So maybe you have a sales domain or a marketing domain or a finance domain, and then you can assign workspaces to these domains and then provide more governance and control for each domain. So it is a way of grouping all your assets inside of Fabric, and you're going to group them with these workspaces. So I'm going to demo this and show you how you can do it a bit later. But this is one of the, I guess the most popular features, or the first features that I think people think of when they think about governance in Fabric, and also the data mesh approach inside of Fabric. And the workspaces here is super important, because previously when you worked with Power BI, workspaces were just this place where you had your reports and your data set or semantic models, and then you would publish an app on top of that, and then that's how people would consume your content. But now the workspaces are going to contain so much more. It's going to contain your lake houses and your warehouses and your pipelines and your notebooks and so on. So everything inside of your workspace is like, it's more important, and how you structure your workspace is going to be more important. And that's why also domains is going to help you, because you might want to use more than one workspace to structure your Fabric solution. For instance, you might want to have one workspace maybe for your bronze solution, one workspace for your silver solution, or silver part of your medallion architecture, if that's what you're doing, and then maybe one workspace for your gold. And then being able to group all of these different workspaces that you're going to have more of now, because that's part of the Fabric setup, Now you can group them and have domains. So it's going to help you to have a bit more control. I'm going to show you what this looks like later. But before we do that, because there's so much I want to show you, we need to go through one more step before we go dig into the demo, or one more feature. And that is the roles and access management. So in Fabric, you now have an additional role introduced, and that is domain admin and domain contributor. So previously in Power BI, in your Power BI service solution, you would have capacity admin and capacity contributor. You would have had that for your tenant, and that's still there. It's still important for Fabric, but now we also have these domain admins. So the domain that we just talked about now have their own separate roles. And then the domain admin can now also work on the tenant settings and set up global policies. And then the domain admin can then give a domain contributor some more, I don't know, roles, or some more, like that person can do more. I'll remember the word in a second, just give me a chance here. But the point is that you might have, for instance, data stewards that you want to have inside of your domain. You want those data stewards to be able to manage that domain and have more of the control of that specific domain. And that could be a good way to then have domain contributors. So the domain admin, that might be, I don't know, it could be the data owner or someone higher up in your roles and processes system in your governance solution. They can then assign domain contributors to their data stewards. And then the data stewards can also work with the domain settings and then assign workspaces towards their domain and then be part of that control solution. So that's good, yes. And then we have more roles. So these were the roles that you might have been familiar with from previously. And now we have also we have the workspace role. So you have the admin, member, contributor, and viewer role. And also, as with Power BI service previously, these are the same workspace roles that you've been seeing before. But now they're going to mean more or something else when you look at how they can access things inside of Fabric. So let's have a look at that too. So inside of Fabric, or well, yeah, Fabric is this whole thing, right? And then OneLake is one feature that you have inside of Fabric. Or it's the storage solution. And I'm really excited about OneLake. I can talk about OneLake forever because that's, to me, one of the most enabling things about Fabric. That's how we're gonna be better at working with this entire ecosystem way of working. But so part of the OneLake structure is that you have the lakehouse way. So you have folders inside of your OneLake. So when you are creating workspaces, you're creating folder structures inside of OneLake. And then you might have the separate or more or multiple lakehouses inside of one workspace, or you might have data warehouses and so on also inside of your workspace. And then each lakehouse or warehouse also have its own folder structure. So that's what it looks like today. And then your roles is going to affect how people can access your OneLake. So in the workspace, if you give people access to the admin, member, or contributor, or you give people those roles, they will be able to view files in OneLake and also write files in OneLake. But the viewer will not be able to do that inside of OneLake. They will still be able to view the content inside of the workspace, but not actually access the content inside of your OneLake. For instance, if you go into the file explorer, if you're connected to that with OneLake, they can't actually work with that specific data or those specific files. So this is going to be one of the ways you can assign access inside of Fabric. And then you also have a more specific way of giving access. We're going to show that too. That is the item access. And when you're inside of Fabric, on the right hand side here, you see some different items. So I have a data lake, and I have a reflex, I have a data flow, and so on. And you might want to not give people access to the entire workspace as you would with the workspace roles. You just want to give access to specific items inside of your workspace. And then so you can do that. You can say, I want to give access to this specific item. And then you have the separate permissions. So you can have a read You can have a read data, read all, and you can have a write solution. And the write solution, as it says, is only available through giving access to the entire workspace. And but then you can have the read all SQL endpoint data and also read all Apache Spark. And then you see the different levels here on what they actually can do. Can they view the files in OneLake? Can they write files in OneLake? And can you read data through the SQL analytical endpoint? So I don't, well, to me personally, I don't think this is super easy to get. This table is great because it makes it much easier to understand what does it mean when I'm providing these different levels of access. So that's something to be aware of, that there are differences, and even though you might feel like you're giving access to something because you've shared that specific item, they might not still be able to see it in OneLake, or they might not still be able to connect to it through a SQL endpoint and so on. So there are different levels here. Okay. So now I think we're ready for a demo. Let me try and keep track of time. Okay, cool. So I am going to go into Power BI, and then I see that you see it, so that's a good sign. This is Fabric actually. So let's, but this is the home page. And I'm just going to assume everyone has been inside of Fabric by now. So I am going to go straight into the admin portal. And I'm an admin for this tenant, so I can do that. So I click here on this, what is it? Tannhjul in Norwegian, yes. You click on that, and then you go to admin portal. And then I have all these settings that I can work with, but I want to show the domain setting. So if I click here, I see now that I've already created some domains, but I can now decide to create a new domain. So let's do that. A great name for a domain is a great name. You should obviously give it a name that makes sense. Maybe you want to give it finance or sales or marketing and so on. And then I can already assign my domain admins. So I'm just gonna assign myself, giving myself all the power, and then I'm gonna click create. And now we see the great name domain has been set up. So I can now open that, and now I can start assigning workspaces. So the thing now is that I can assign a workspace by name, I can assign it by workspace admin, or I can assign it by capacity. So that means that I can say here I can assign by name, so that will say that I'm going to find workspaces. Yeah, I have some that is not assigned yet, so I can assign this one. Or I could have assigned it by the workspace admin. So for instance, if I know that Emily, yeah, she will always be the boss because she's the domain owner, or she's the steward, for instance, or the data owner of all the data inside of finance, for instance. I could say that all the workspaces where Emily is the admin, that should be inside of my finance domain. Or I can assign it by capacity if I have distributed my capacity as well, and I know that this specific capacity only have workspaces connected to finance, for instance. So that can make this a bit easier. So I'm just going to do that, add that one, click apply, and now that one is added to my domain. And also now if I click here and we see on Data Ascend, Data Lake, you see here that I am part of this workspace great name domain that we just created. Okay, now let's go into one specific workspace. For instance, the sales department workspace. And here you have all these different items that I just talked about. And maybe you want to give access to specific items. So then I can click on, I can click on share. And this is the box that I talked about previously, that you can say, I want read all SQL endpoint data, I want it to be read all Apache Spark, I want that person to be able to build reports on the default data set, and then you assign those people those specific items. So that means that that person might not be part of the workspace that I would have managed from here, manage access. Here I could have added other people. I think I have Emily here. I do. Emily. Okay, I trust Emily. I want her to be admin. oh, maybe not that much. Maybe I just want her to remember, but I can add her, and then now she will be able to watch the data for my sales lakehouse inside of my OneLake, because she's now part of the workspace. But maybe I don't want Emily to see everything, and then I would have shared it specifically here to only see this lakehouse, but not have access to my data flows or notebooks and so on. So a couple of different levels that we can use here. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my slides, and then I think this might be an okay time for some questions, if there are any questions related to what I've gone through so far.
I don't see any questions in here, Martha, so I think you're good to keep going.
Perfect. Then I'm just gonna do that because I have so much to say. Okay, cool. Let's do that and go to the next one. So the next one on the governance feature, that is lineage. And what is data lineage? Well, data lineage is this visual view. I've screenshotted one for us here, where you can better understand where is my data coming from, how is it sort of moving through my ecosystem. So if you look at this Seattle analysis report over here, I can see that it's coming from this data set. So that's where the report is pulling data from. I see that that data set is pulling from this SQL endpoint, and this SQL endpoint is pulling from my lakehouse. So this is a lineage view. And it's great to understand better what sources is used to create this amazing report. That's one thing. Or it could be, I am going to change this source right here. What is going to be affected? What's the impact analysis for this one? And then I might see that, oh, wow, all of these notebooks and all of these things are going to be affected. Okay, cool, then I know that, and then I can do something about that and plan for that. So that is the lineage part. We're going to demo that too, but we're going to try and group it. So I'm going to go to also the next feature, and that is policies and processes. Because inside of Fabric, you can connect to the information protection solution inside of, it's now called Purview. I'm going to show you. I think it's a bit, I mean, it's great that Microsoft is now pulling more features into Purview, so you can do more on security and policies and so on. They don't only now use Purview for the original data cataloging. That's great. And then parts of Purview needs this additional license, but then we have some parts here that I'm going to show you that are leveraging the Purview setup, but then providing you with some policies and processes that you can set up for Fabric. So one of them, that's information protection. So you can set up labels. For instance, this is public data or this is confidential data and so on. You can set up data loss preventions, and that's policies that you can leverage. And then you can also set up endorsement. And for those of you who have used Power BI before in Power BI Service, you know that you can endorse your content and say that it's promoted or it's certified. And that can help people understand what's the quality of this, or is this something I can reuse and so on. And I think that's really interesting when you think about the data product way of thinking, because that's one challenge with Fabric. How do I follow my products inside of Fabric? How do I understand where they are or what they are? Endorsement could be one way to handle that, because you can then decide that we're only going to certify our data products, which is going to help you monitor them and manage them. Okay, so these are all really, really important. And let's go to the demo, I think, because we're going to learn more if I demo it. It's not that interesting to just hear me talk about it. Okay, so I'm going back to Power BI. And now I'm just going to show you, if I click here, so I'm inside a workspace now. I'm inside my sales department workspace, and I'm now in the list view. So I see all my things here. But if I click on this lineage view, you can now see how my solution is set up and what is affecting my reports and my setup and so on. And I mean, we did have this also in Power BI Service, but now I think it's so much more valuable because, as I already mentioned, Fabric means more. It's more things. You can do more. You can set up more stuff inside of one workspace. This is going to help you with that. because now you can see how all these different things that you might have in a list that can become a bit messy, how are these things affecting each other? How is this looking like in a lineage view? And also, if I click on this show lineage, you can highlight the lineage for that item. And if I click here, show impact across workspaces, I can see how this item is impacting my workspaces. And I see that this sales lakehouse semantic model is only set up in this workspace, so it's only affecting that, and it only has one child item. And then I can see all the downstream items and so on. And then I can also, if I'm going to make any changes, I can notify the contacts for this, so that they will know that, oh, something is going to affect my solution. So this can also help us to have control, make sure that we're not messing up something that someone is using, and also give this overview and make things clearer. Now, I will also just mention that Purview, the data catalog Purview, also has its own lineage that can also scan outside of Fabric and provide more details on the lineage view. So, but that requires this additional license, and I am focusing on the things that you can do inside of Fabric. And this lineage view is something you get without having Purview as an additional component that you need to buy. Yes, so this is something we have built into Fabric. Cool. So that was the lineage view. Now I'm going to talk about this information protection and also the data loss prevention that you can set up. And that is something you do inside of this Microsoft Purview place in here. So, and again, yes, so you have this Purview thing, and then you have the Microsoft Purview where they're pulling in more of the governance features, which is here, which is great. And you need an IE5 license to be able to do this, which usually is something you have if you're using Microsoft 365. Then you will have this, and then you can leverage that with Fabric. So now I just logged into my compliance homepage inside of Microsoft Purview. And here you see that I have data loss prevention, and I also have information protection. So if you start here, if you go into information protection, I click here, well, you can set up all types of labeling. And this is not only set up for Fabric, this is for everything. So the labels that you set up here can now be leveraged for anything and everything. For instance, maybe you want all your PowerPoints to be marked with confidential, or you want to label things inside of your Outlook solution and so on. You can set up that too. But if I go to labels here, you see that I've already created some labels, and these labels are set up for how is my data personal? Is it personal data? Is it public data? Is it general, or is it confidential or highly confidential? Sorry, my screen is sort of going away here, so I need to stretch a bit. But and I've set up these different levels inside of each and every one of them. And I mean, you don't have to do it like this. You can. This is super flexible, or it's flexible at least in some sense. So you can set up your own structure here, or maybe your organization already has a structure, and you just want to use that. But yeah, you can have different sub layers here. So for general, anyone, unrestricted, or all employees can see this, and it's unrestricted. And then also for confidential, you might have, so anyone, it's unrestricted, all employees, or trusted people, and so on. So you can set up these hierarchies. Now, if I go back to Power BI here, you're gonna see something cool, because I can now go into my lakehouse, and then maybe I know that this lakehouse is that's sensitive stuff. I can then click on settings, and then I can now label my lakehouse. So I'm can go here to sensitivity label, click here, and then I can say, oh, this is super confidential. Okay, maybe not highly confidential. We're just gonna go with confidential. And this is something that all employees can see, but it is confidential, so they cannot share it. So I'm gonna click on that. And now this amazing thing happened where I clicked on that, it was applied, and now you see that my sales lakehouse has gotten this sign that states that it's confidential, but all employees can see it. And then you also see that these items that were followed by my sales lakehouse now inherited that label. So now I also see that the report that is using data from sales lakehouse also got this label. But I can also change this. So let's say that it's not true. This is not that. The report itself is not actually confidential. That's general because we maybe made some changes somewhere. And I can change that. I say that this one should be general, and then it's going to change the sign as well. So now this is a general one. So this can help us protect and understand our data assets inside of Fabric. So that was the information protection. And then you have something called, you have data loss prevention. So if I go to the overview page here, you see that, well, here again, you can use this for more than just Fabric. It can be used towards, well, anything inside of your Microsoft 365 solution. But let's say that, and you can create policies. So now you can set up different policies that can help me monitor my assets. And then you can also set up alerts that says something about, oh, this and this and this was breached through my policy, and then someone can get alerted. And then you can follow up what's the status of my policies. Now, this is the cool thing and difficult thing about policies is that it has changed a bit since first time I demoed this, but that's great because that means that I'm going to learn more. So let's together create a policy. And I'm going to create a custom policy because there are some limitations to these different policies inside of Fabric, but these are updating all the time. So first time I was going to set this up, it was pretty limited. You could set up a custom policy, but you couldn't code it or do anything more advanced to make you manage it. But now you can. So go into the documentation on this to dig into the details because you can do more things now. But I'm going to go with custom policy. That's what I want to create. Cool. I'm going to click next. And then we need to give it a good name. I'm going to call it a great policy. Cool. And you should, of course, give it better name, but let's call it that. Then we click next, and then I can say if I want this to apply to specific admin units or just all the admin units in my full directory. I'm just going to go with that. Click next. And now here's the thing, because if I click Power BI, it says, you can't set up a solution towards the Power BI workspaces, which is your Fabric workspaces. I know it's a bit confusing, but that's changing. So you need to unmark all of these and say, I'm only going to apply this specific policy to my Power BI, Power BI workspaces. And then we can click next. Cool. And then I can say I want to create a customized advanced data loss prevention rule. That's exactly what I want to do. And then here I can create the rule. And now, oh my God, there's so many things I can do. So let's create a rule. Number one, you might want to add a condition. So the group name should make sense, of course, and then you can add what you wanted to monitor for you and look after. So it could, for instance, be sensitive info type or sensitivity labels. So if you have already set up your labels, you can say that if this is marked as confidential, I want to monitor it. Because what you can then do is that it can provide these alerts and so on inside of, for instance, your semantic model, if someone is now pulling data from with that type of sensitivity label. Or you can use sensitivity info types, and then I can say that if I have full names or Australian company number, or other things that is already put in here, we're just going to say all full names, that's confidential, should not be, we need to monitor that. I'll say add, and then that's something I can monitor. And I can say if I want to have user notification and then set up alerts if I want that as well. And then the next step will be to actually set this up. And I'm not going to do that because then I'm going to set up this policy that's going to limit me in my demos in the future. So I'm not going to do that and demo this now. But hopefully this showed you that there are some options here on how you set this up. Yes. So if I cancel this, you see here that I've already created some policies, but they're not that advanced because I couldn't do that much stuff first time I created this. Now you can do more, as I showed you. So that's cool. So this can help us. And if I go back to my slide here, whoops, sorry, I'm trying to, cool. Yes, so you see here, this is an example where the screenshot that credit card numbers have been detected in this data set. Credit card numbers must be removed from this from the data set if found. So this policy that's been set up here is set up to give people information if it finds credit card numbers. So we put in full names. It could be the same. If it's finding full names, it can give the user a tip that this shouldn't be happening. So it can so data loss prevention can help detect and upload of sensitive data into Power BI semantic models or Fabric semantic models. And also supported Fabric items. So this is what's changing now. So they're supporting more and more Fabric items. And also can detect the sensitivity labels that we looked at. Yeah, can be generated to generate these policy tips for item owners and alerts for the actual admin, security admins. So these are alerts that our users are going to see, so they can be, oh, I need to change that, I need to fix something, something is not okay. And then the admins can get the actual alert inside of the purview view that we looked at. Okay, oh, there's one more thing I want to demo, I think. Let's, oops, go back to our Power BI. So, okay, so now we put up, the last thing I want to demo is the endorsement labeling that you can also use. So now we looked at sensitivity labels and data loss prevention, but you can also do one more thing. If I click on settings here, you can see that I can now put up endorsement on my solution. So I can say that this is promoted or certified, or I can also feature it on the home page. And this is where I think the data product way of thinking becomes interesting, because let's say that your data product is a report. And I know there's so many discussions of what should be a data product. And I think it varies from organization to organization where you land. But maybe you're, okay, cool, my report is actually a data product. Cool, then you can say that this one is promoted. And then it gets this cool label here. Or you can also say that maybe also the semantic model is actually a data product. So I can do the same thing here, go to settings, or I think, yes, endorsement and discovery. And then I can say this one is promoted. And here we also see this is a great way to make it more discoverable for users, because now they can find it easier. And also when they're going into Power BI Desktop, I want to connect to that semantic model and so on, it's going to pop up as something that is promoted. Cool, so I can apply that. And if I now go back to my workspace, you see that this one also I gotten this setup. I can also, if I want to, put up that for my lake houses and say that this one is promoted or certified. So maybe I say that this is certified, and I should probably put the others as certified because the data product should be the best thing ever. But just to show you, I'm going to change this now. So I'm going to put this as certified, and it's going to get this label right here. So you can do this for your different items. And I think saving these endorsements to mean something. For instance, this means something because this is a data product. Maybe all certifieds are data product, but promoted are high quality things or something like that. I think that could be one way to solve the data product management challenge that you have inside of Fabric. Okay, cool, nice. We went through some things here. Let's go back to our presentation mode. Okay, I think I'm just going to go ahead and go to the next steps, and then I'll save the questions if there are any to the end because I'm talking too much. So Purview Hub, that's also one of the nicest features maybe. I mean, it's just so cool that it's there and it's giving you these insights that I feel like we maybe we did miss a bit previously. So this is a report area page inside of Microsoft Fabric that you can go to and then get more information on all your assets, where they are, who's owning them, look at the policies or information protection or endorsement that you might have set up on your solution. I'm just going to jump straight to the demo on this one because that's more interesting. Okay, we're in Power BI, no, we're in Fabric actually, sorry, again. And then I go to my settings. And then below admin portal, so we already went into the admin portal to set up domains. If you go to the Microsoft Purview Hub, instead, you now see this Purview Hub thing. Oh, okay, I get an error or something. Let's just ignore that. And here you see that you have these connections that go directly to Purview. So if I click on my data loss prevention here, this is sending me to the compliance center inside of Microsoft Purview that we just looked at. This is the same. Here we have the data loss prevention and information protection with sensitivity labels. I go back here. So, and also you can see that you can go straight to get started with Microsoft Purview, and that is the Purview part with the data cataloging and so on. But still, there are some more cool insights you have inside of this Purview Hub, and I think this report really is nice. So if you just click here, you see that we have an overview, and it's auto-generated because I mean there's a donut chart here, so obviously I didn't make it, but it's auto-generated for us. Now let's just go straight to the full reports. I can click here, and then it's going to show us some more details that we can dig into. All right, so let's go to the first page. That's the overview report. And what I like about this is that it's a good way to see what are my items looking like. So you have, okay, I have 12 data sets, I have 5 data flows, 22 notebooks, and so on. I can see who's the most active creators. I mean, that's me. And then I can see how well am I doing on endorsement. And this is super interesting because this can be used as an active measure for your stewards. Because I think being a data steward or a data owner and so on is not that motivating maybe if it's not an official role that you're getting measured on. How well am I doing this work? This could be one of the metrics that you could use to make that that person be more interested in this. So you can say that, okay, how are the workspaces for my data steward doing? Oh, wow, they're labeled, 71% is labeled and 31% is endorsed. That's great. Let's see if we can get to 100% labeled items and so on. Set up thresholds on this and stuff like that. So I think that's a way to pull the people that might be not that technical, but still they are super, or they should be really invested in the Fabric ecosystem. Give them access here so that they can measure this and make data metrics that they are reporting on, for instance. Yes. And then you can dig into these details a bit more. So you can look at the endorsed items and see how well am I doing, how many are promoted, how many are certified, and also here see how they're doing on the different creators. Same with sensitivity. How am I doing on my sensitivity labels? I mean, it's a lot that doesn't have a label, but I have some labels on different items. You can also filter on creator names and so on. And I mean, you can also make changes here. You can actually, or I think you can. I thought you could edit this report because I did that once. But I mean, this is a demo, so of course I can't show you that now. But yeah, and so on. You look at the inventory and yeah, get more insights on the totality of your report or your Fabric ecosystem. So I think this is also really valuable for our users of Fabric. Okay. That was the Purview Hub. Now I think I have time, but I need to be efficient because I think there is an additional component that could be used for governance in Fabric that might not have been talked about in the governance sense that much up until now, and that is the data activator feature inside of Fabric. So if you look at this total view of Fabric, you know that we have these different experiences on top of our OneLake, and data activator is one of them. And what is data activator? Well, it's this no-code experience in Microsoft Fabric for automatically taking actions when patterns or conditions are detected and changing data. Okay, cool. And what does that mean? Well, you have a data activator, so you can set up events that's coming in for specific objects that you want to set up inside of Fabric. And then that's how you monitor your data. And then you can set up thresholds or matrices and so on, triggers that is activated for this specific object if something is happening. So you can set up these calculations that is going to trigger something, and then that trigger is going to then perform some sort of action. And this is what you can automate. And there are two sort of main directions here. One is that you can drop actions from your event streams, super cool. The other one is that you can create an alert to your Power BI report. And then the idea here is that you can then automate the action. So it could be you're going to send an email, you want something to be sent on Teams to alert someone, or you can then pull in Power Apps and then activate some sort of process that you set up in Power Apps. And then, I mean, then it's just about how creative are you? What is going to happen? You can automate that. I mean, it could be like connected toward business. So if a person is, or if a customer is about to leave, can you then automate an action to start the process to try and keep that person or that customer, the retention process, and so on. Okay, so how is this connected to data governance? Let me do a bit of a demo here to try and show you. So going back to Fabric, and then what workspace should I choose? Should I just go with my sales department one? I think here that I have a report. Yeah, profit reporting. And let's just open that one. And it's a beautiful report, I think. Oh, wow, so good. Okay, so here we have a Power BI report. And then previously you might know that you can now go to you can, if you were in the dashboard mode, you could set up these alerts that would send an email if something happened. Now you can do that directly in reports. So I can set up an alert, but the difference now is that this alert is connected directly to data activator features inside of Fabric. So I can say that if sales profit becomes greater than some number, I want to have an email sent, and then I want to create a new reflex item that is called profit reflex. Wow. If I can write. Amazing. And then I can create this alert. Cool. So I'm going to just click that. And bear with me here. We're going to go into a data activator. And I'm going to just show you what it looks like. Then, oh, wow, the things you can do with governance here. Hopefully it's going to be, it was quite quick. That's okay. Let's go to view alert. And now it's going to send me straight into data activator. And the design mode of data activator, because I just want to show you this. So now I've set up, I want to detect the sales profit. That's what I want to look at. And if I had my report refreshing with new data, you would also see how this is changing historically. But I mean, the last hour, nothing has really happened to that report. And then I can detect, I want to detect when it becomes greater than this number. That I can change, or you can set up all these different types of measures or calculations that you're setting up that you want to do something about. So here you can be a bit creative. And then you also want to maybe say that I just want my action to happen each time this happens. I want it to be if it happens more than 3 times within 10 minutes, or if it stays above this number more than 10 minutes. So that you don't get an email every every second, and so on. And then you can decide to send an email and then give some information on that, or you can set up a custom action. If I click here, create, then I just make something silly here just to get to the next point. Trigger, copy, and then create in Power Apps. I can now just create well, anything. I can now automate some processes that is going to happen. For instance, I can automate that my pipeline should run again, or that I'm detecting that something has been put into my data set manually and then it's wrong. Then I can maybe trigger some sort of pipeline that's going to fix that challenge. And that's why I think this is important when you think about the data governance, because one thing is that you can use it to automate actions and get alerts and so on. That can be good in general, but you can also automate it to measure your quality. I know there are separate solutions out there that is going to help you with quality, but if you are only inside of Fabric, you might not have that option. So one thing that you could do is to create a data quality report that says something about, did my pipeline refresh? How often is it refreshing? Did we lose 50% of the data, or is the data amount steady? Do we have any duplicates today? Is this format now breached? You can code all of these things, create this report, and then you can measure all these numbers and then set up alerts for these different numbers for what will be your data quality report. And then maybe have the action to be, let's rerun that pipeline, because sometimes it's just really annoying that you did try to fetch data, but then the data wasn't ready, or I don't know, something. And then the actual fix is that your data engineer just reruns things. This can then be automated. So again, Data Activator is pretty cool. I think you can do more than just I don't know, just monitor your event streams and so on. If you connect it to the data governance way of thinking, I think there are more things that can be done here, especially if you're not interested in going into additional tools to make things happen. So I wanted to give you a heads up on that too, that I think there are some opportunities with Data Activator. So let's summarize the Data Activator part. So I think you can combine this with, for instance, data quality, but also governance in the sense that you can have more control of your solution in general, and then get actions and then automate that. And then Data Activator as a whole thing, I mean, of course, that could be a separate session, so let's try not to do that. But here it's really, you can automate, well, you can use it to automate anything you want to automate. And you can have alerts when something is happening in your value chain, for instance, that your temperature is too low and someone physically needs to fix something. Or you can have automate activation of a process that you want to fix some sort of problem. Maybe some custom customer service feature that you want to set up. Or if a customer isn't happy and you want to retain them, maybe this process should just automatically start. They should get an email or something, or a discount in their app, or I don't know. And also you can then track, for instance, this pipeline quality. That's the way to do it. Okay, so wow, we've been going through a lot of different things. And why do I talk about this? Why is this something that I think is so important? The governance of your Fabric solution. Well, it's because the new data ecosystem is changing the way we're working with data. So if this is just your really high level way of looking into your ecosystem, you see that you have some data movement going from the source, raw data, and then you have some value at the report at the end. And then your data quality should probably at least increase throughout that process. Cool, that's what it looks like. But Microsoft Fabric is enabling business analysts to do more closer to the source than what they've previously been able to do. And that is a great thing. It's great that more people can now do things inside of Fabric because it's easier. It's more low code, but you don't have to be low code. I mean, you can do all the heavy things, but it's right there. You have this one user face. Everything is integrated. There are more opportunities. And that is a positive thing. thing that you now have more people that can do more inside of your ecosystem. But it also means that there are more people that can do things wrong or do things not in the best way. And that is why I think the data governance part in Fabric is so important. So how can you ensure that you're doing the right things? And that's the cool thing about Fabric. More people can do things, and you can do all the things sort of inside of Fabric, but you still need to make sure that you're doing the things right. So make sure that you're not messing up from the beginning. And if we look historically on Power BI service, which is really similar in many sense or in many ways to Fabric, we saw that a lot of the early adoption on Power BI that was awesome, but then it sort of exploded. So now a lot of organizations are sitting with hundreds of reports and hundreds of workspaces and semantic models and all over the place. And what is actually the report I should report on? What data should I trust and so on? It's going to be the exact same thing with Microsoft Fabric. If we don't do the right things from the start, then you're just going to end up with the exact same issue or challenge that you have with Power BI if you don't have the governance in place. So hopefully that was a bit of a motivational speech. Oh my God, it was only 5 minutes left. Then I'm going to say thank you. And also feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I think that's easiest if you want to talk more after this. And also if you have questions that you want me and Jay to answer on diagnosing data and give it some more time, then you can also just let me know if you have any questions. But now we have 4 minutes. Sorry, we have 4 minutes left for some questions, if there are any in the chat.
Fantastic. Thanks a million, Martha, for a great webinar and a great demo. So there's one question in here, so we'll just get straight into it. But if anyone has any questions, please do feel free to type it into the questions window, and Martha will answer them as we have a couple of minutes left. So the first question in here is, someone wants to know the Purview Hub Insights report. Is this cross domains or per domain?
Great question. So it's for your entire ecosystem, the Purview Hub. So you're seeing the totality of your Fabric solution inside of that report. But I think, and that's what I couldn't find the edit button today, but I thought you could edit it, and in that way you could probably also set up separate pages for separate domains, for instance, if that's something you want to do. But I haven't tested that, but that's my guess. Yeah. But it is the entire solution. So you see anything across domains and across workspaces and see the totality of your Fabric solution. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Martha. So that seems to be all the questions that have come in.
It was so clear.
So clear. So thanks for that. There has been 1 or 2 questions about getting the presentation slides. So if you are willing to share them, I can include them in the email with the webinar recording. So
yes.
Perfect, yeah.
Of course,
so
I'll just send
brilliant. If anyone wants to catch up on demand or just go over the slides or the demos again, you will receive an email later on today with the webinar recording and Martha's slides. So that is it for today. Just on behalf of the ESPC community, Martha, I want to extend a huge thank you to you again for taking the time to carry out this webinar. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. That was so cool to be asked, and I had a lot of fun. So that's great.
Great. So that is the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today, and I hope that you'll join us again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.